Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your history teacher here, and this time I'm here with the second part of the chapter number 2, that is from trade to territory. Students, as we already learned and discussed in the first part of this chapter that how Britishers advancing towards India and how they changed their sole purpose from trade to expansioning of territory in India. And if you remember, we also learned and discussed in the earlier part that how Britishers began trade in Bengal and how Robert Clive conspired against the Nawabs of Bengal and how he controlled the trade in Bengal. And lastly, we learned in the earlier part that how the British got the title Nawabs. Now, students, let's move on further towards the chapter. Students, in the second part of this chapter, you will learn that how the East India Company expand their rule in all over India. Students, if you analyze the whole process of annexation of Indian states by the East India Company from 1757 to till 1857, then you will come to know that company rarely launched a direct military attack on any unknown territory. Instead, they used a variety of political, economic and diplomatic methods to extend their influences in all over India before annexing the Indian kingdoms. As after the Battle of Buxar in 1764, the company appointed many residents in all over Indian states. And students, through these residents, the company officials began interfering in the internal affairs of the Indian states. And through this, they tried to decide who was to be the successor to the throne and who was to be appointed in administrative post. And for this, they applied different rules and policies in Indian states to annex them. Now, in the next slide, we will learn an example of such a policy applied by the East India Company. So, let's move on towards the next slide. Students, as you can see here the heading, subsidiary alliance. Alliance means when two or more parties came together to join hands, then we call it is the alliance. Students, the subsidiary alliance was such a policy that was applied by the Britishers in all over India in order to annex them. Students, the subsidiary alliance system was also known as non-intervention policy, and it is basically used by the then Governor General Lord Wellesley. As you can see here in this figure, he was the man who applied this policy in over Indian states. And why he did so? Basically to establish British Empire in India. Students, this system states that every ruler in India should accept to pay a subsidy to the British for the maintenance of British army and protection for their enemies. Students, according to this system, that time every ruler in India had to accept to pay a subsidy to the British for the maintenance of British army. In return, British would protect them from their enemies, which gave British enormous expansion. Students, the main key points of this subsidiary alliance was that the allies of Indian states ruler were compelled to accept the permanent garrison of British army within their territories, and they have to pay a subsidy for its maintenance. Secondly, the Indian ruler couldn't employ any European in their service without prior the consult of or approval of British. And the last and the most important key point of this policy was that if the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, then part of their territory was taken away as a penalty by the English East India Company. For example, when Richard Wellesley, this man over here in this picture, when this man Richard Wellesley was Governor General of India, the Nawab of Awadh was forced to give over half of his territory to the company in 1801 because he failed to pay for the subsidiary alliances. And in the same way, Hyderabad was also forced to cede territories on similar grounds. Now, let's move on towards the next slide. Students, as you can see here the heading, Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore. Students, Tipu Sultan, also known as the Tiger of Mysore, and he was the ruler of the Kingdom of Mysore from 1782 to 1799. Student, Mysore is in Karnataka in the present time, and that time under the leadership of powerful rulers like Hyder Ali, who ruled in Mysore from 1761 to 1782, and his famous son Tipu Sultan, who ruled from 1782 to 1799, had grown in strength. And students, Mysore controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. And in 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom through the ports of his kingdom, and this allowed local merchants from trading with the company. And students, he also established a very close relationship with the French in India, and through the help of French, he modernized his army with French help. And students, as I said earlier, that Tipu Sultan disallowed local merchants from trading with the company, and he also stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom through the ports of his kingdom. So the Britishers were very furious from him. They saw Hyder and Tipu as an ambitious, arrogant and dangerous ruler who had to be controlled and crushed. So as a result, there were 4 wars were fought with Mysore between East India Company and Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali. And students, these 4 wars happened in 1767 to 1769. The next battle between East India Company and the rulers of the Mysore, 1780 to 84. The third war in 1790 to 1792, and the last and the ultimate war between the East India Company and Tipu Sultan was in 1799. And students, you will amazed to know that in the first 3 wars, Britishers were defeated by the rulers of Mysore. But ultimately, in the 4th war, that was in 1799, Tipu Sultan was killed by defending his capital, Seringapatam. And that's how the British East India Company controlled over the Mysore. Now let's move on towards the next slide. Students, the East India Company, from the late 18th century, the company also had many wars with the Maratha powers, as they eventually want to destroy their power. And students, with the defeat of the Marathas in the 3rd battle of Panipat in 1761, the dreams of Marathas that they were ruled India from Delhi was completely shattered, and the whole empire of Marathas were divided into many small states under different chiefs that were also known as Sardars that time. And these chiefs belonging to dynasties such as Sindhya Marathas, Holkar Marathas, Gaikwad Marathas, Bhosle Marathas. And the chief of all these dynasties were held together under a single prime minister, means Peshwa, who became their effective military and administrative head. And basically their headquarters was that time at Pune. And students, as I said earlier also, that Marathas were indulged in a series of war with the British East India Company, and the first war between both the parties were ended in 1782 with a Treaty of Salbai. And after that, the second Anglo-Maratha War was fought in 1803 to 1805, and this war was fought between Marathas and British East India Company in different fronts. And in this war, British occupied or gained the Orissa and the territories that were basically established along the bank of Yamuna River, including Agra and Delhi. And finally, in the third Anglo-Maratha War that was held in 1817 to 1819. Students, in this war, the British East India Company finally crushed the Marathas' power completely, and that's how the Britishers controlled or crushed all the Marathas' power in India. Now let's move on towards the next slide. Students, as you can see here the heading, the claim to paramountcy. Students, the word paramountcy meaning the overall lord, or means to say the dominant power. Students, this was a new policy that was initiated under the British Governor General of that time, who ruled India in 1813 to 1823, and that was Lord Hastings. As you can see in this figure, he was the man who introduced this policy, means the claim to paramountcy in India. And through this policy, company claimed that its power was greater than that any other Indian states. And students, this policy of claiming paramountcy in India didn't go unchallenged. For example, when the British tried to annex the small state of Kittur, that is in Karnataka today, from where Rani Channamma, who took to arms and led an anti-British resistance movement, and due to which she was arrested in 1824 and died in prison in 1829. But after the death of Rani Channamma, there was a man named Rayana, who was a poor chowkidar of Sangoli. Sangoli is a place that was in Kittur, and from where Rayana carried the anti-British resistance. And with the popular support, he, means Rayana, destroyed many British camps and records, and ultimately he was also caught and hanged by the British in 1830. And students, during the late 1830, the East India Company became very worried about Russia, because they imagined that Russia might expand across Asia and enter India from the northwest. So, students, driven by this fear, the British East India Company now wanted to secure their control over the northwest. So, they fought a prolonged war with Afghanistan between 1838 and 1842. And that's how they established indirect company rule there, means in Afghanistan. And after annexing Afghanistan, the East India Company annexed Punjab also in 1849 after two prolonged wars with the then Maharaja of Punjab, means Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who gave a very tough resistance to East India Company that time. Now let's move on towards the next slide. Now students, this is a very important topic for all of you to understand, means the doctrine of lapse. Students, this was the final wave of annexations that was occurred under Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856. Students, this policy was introduced by Lord Dalhousie. As you can see here in this figure, he was the man who introduced this policy, means the doctrine of lapse in India. Students, according to this policy, if any Indian ruler dies without leaving a male heir, means successor, then his kingdom would automatically pass over to the British. For example, Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur and Jhansi were some states which were annexed by the company under this policy. The state of Awadh was also annexed by the company in 1856 on the charges of misgovernment by Nawab of Awadh. Students, as per this policy, any adopted son of the Indian ruler couldn't be proclaimed as the successor to the kingdom. The adopted son would only inherit his foster father's personal property, estates, and the adopted son would also not be entitled to any pension that his father had been achieving or to any of his father's titles. and this policy challenged the Indian rulers' long-held authority to appoint and hire on their choice. Students, due to this policy, many Indian states lost their sovereignty and became British territories, and lots of people were unhappy with the illegal nature of this doctrine, and this was one of the major cause of the Indian revolt of 1857. So students, the second part of your chapter number 2 is finished here. I will be come back soon with the third and the final part of this chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe.